going on, guys? This is Nate with the Looking Through Water road tour we're on. We just made it to our second stop in Atlanta, and we're at the fish hop. We got Rob and Cal here. They're going to tell us a little bit about fly fishing in Atlanta and why people here love fly fishing so much.
All the fly fishing in Atlanta started with probably the trout stockings in the Chattahoochee back in 1968. And because it's a tailwater, it had, the water comes out at 51 degrees and stays cool year round. So, the whole Atlanta area kind of keyed in on that, and everybody loved to trout fish. So, that's where everybody kind of got started, was trout fishing on the hooch. Well, as the city grew and the trout fishing, everybody was really excited about the trout fishing. Everybody started traveling. So a big part of our business is people traveling all over the world. Not just for trout, but for everything. But as the years went by and the city grew and grew and grew, the trout fishery changed. The lower part of the river that at one time was extremely good trout fishery turned into a warm water fishery full of stripers and shoal bass and largemouth and anything you wanted in warm water. And I discovered that about 30 years ago and kept it a secret forever. Guided, but I wouldn't take people that would talk. So, it was incredible to have such a great fishery in such a large city, because we're close to 6 million people now. And within 15 minutes of where we're sitting right now, you can catch a 20, 25 pound striper almost any day in the summertime. So, I don't think you've been much, but I know your son takes advantage of it.
William loves to do it. There's great bass fishing lakes around here. Yeah. We've got the reservoirs at Allatoona, Hartswell, Lanier, so those are world-class spotted bass and largemouth bass fisheries. Georgia coast is, and the South Carolina coast for that matter, pretty close. They're a 4.5 hour drive, and you're in the redfish and trout and tarpon this time of year, and panhandles, 5 hour drive.
Away.
Yeah, there you can get anything down there year round. Homosassa is a 6 hour drive. A lot of history between Atlanta and Homosassa, obviously, with the Atlanta Fishing Club, now the Homosassa Fishing Club. And I think, Atlanta really sort of is overdeveloped on saltwater fly fishing, I think, which is doesn't seem intuitive, but with the airport here, we have daily direct flights to Marsh Harbor, to North Eleuthera, Turks and Caicos, Tulum, Mexico, Gateway to Ascension Bay, Belize. These are direct flights. A lot of us fish in the Keys a lot, particularly the lower Keys. We have 4 direct flights a day to Key West. So, you can get out of work at 5 o'clock on a Friday, catch the 7 o'clock to Key West, have a late dinner, fish all day Saturday, all day Sunday, catch the 5:30 and you're home for dinner.
Yeah.
So as I come in, hang around the fish hawk, and like most of the fishermen in Atlanta do, like you said, tons of saltwater fly fishermen, and it's not just those areas where it's more tarpon, bonefish, parmet, but it's folks that you can get it anywhere. You can fly to Anchorage direct. You can go anywhere. So I think it's what makes, other than living in South Florida and having access to Fort Lauderdale Airport or Miami Airport, I'd say Atlanta is probably the easiest place to live if you want to go do a bunch of saltwater fly fishing.
Yeah. And freshwater. It's very diverse close by. You don't have to drive a real long ways to catch almost any freshwater species you want. And you can be tarpon fishing in 5 hours.
Yeah.
Driving.
What about the North Georgia trout fishing? That's one thing that always blows people away that spend a lot of time out west trout fishing, the size of the fish up in North Georgia.
Yeah, we have several rivers that are kind of unique. You know, they're stocked, and you know the fish are big, and you know it's not unheard of catching 10, 12, even a 15-pound trout up there
in a little creek.
in a
Yeah.
little creek.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah.
I'd never heard that when people start talking in pounds with trout. You know,
Yeah.
it's always inches.
Inches,
It's a 16 incher or 18 incher. And people come back from the Soquel or whatever talking in pounds,
Right.
which is amazing to me. I've only had a chance to do that kind of fishing a few times, but it's fun if you bring someone up there that has never been and don't tell them what
It
to
will
expect.
blow their mind.
Yeah, they come tight,
every time.
and all of a sudden you got an 8-pound rainbow jumping or a 10-pound brown. So it really is crazy. It's like you said, 15 minutes from where we're sitting, you've been catching 10-pound largemouths, catching 25-pound stripers. You know, drive another hour and it gets more diverse. I mean, you catch those big muskies. How far is that? 3 hours from
3
here?
hours.
Yeah, I mean, big muskies on fly. So it's Atlanta is really kind of a hub to all kinds of different fly fishing, and it's great. And there's a great, I think, kind of group of people, that you see every day coming through the Fish Hawk. But there's a great fishing community here. I'd say.
We have probably one of the best of anywhere I've been. So it's fun to work with everybody here. So
when fly fishing really take off here? I mean, has it been a generational thing, or is it fairly new and becoming more popular as time goes on?
It's becoming more popular, but it really started. It got to start in late 70s and 80s. And then by the 90s, it was going strong. And by then, people had discovered the saltwater fishing, the bonefish. I think Gary, the guy who started this shop, he was taking bonefish trips, and he pretty much wanted to live in the Keys and do nothing but bonefish at that time, and he couldn't care less about tarpon at that time. The Keys had big bonefish, so that's all he wanted to fish for. And then when they went away, he started tarpon fishing, and the whole Atlanta area went tarpon crazy. So, tarpon fishing is huge around here. So
you say equally as big to the Keys or possibly bigger?
Do what?
Equally as big to the Keys or possibly bigger here?
Bigger.
Yeah, I'd say differently. So when you're in the Keys, it's the guides are from there, but most of the time the anglers are not.
Right.
There's obviously a big contingent of very good tarpon anglers that live in South Florida because it's in their backyard. But I would say outside of that, if you go stop by the Lorelei, you're at the Conch Farm in Key West, and there's someone wearing fishing clothes, there's a pretty good chance that they're from Atlanta. They may not be more than half, but they're definitely overrepresented in the tarpon fishery. Like you said, Gary got into it. I think he helped motivate a ton of people to start getting into it. Homosassa's, before, when it was in its heyday, there were a ton of Atlanta anglers that were fishing out of the fishing club there. But now, like I said earlier, if you go to the Keys during tarpon season, you'll usually see someone from Atlanta. It's something people here really love to do, and pretty accessible.
It's pretty much almost anywhere you go. You'd be surprised. You run into people in the airports that are from here.
They got their fly rods
in
hand.
Oh yeah. I don't remember where I was coming back from, but I ran into somebody coming back from Alaska, and I was in Seattle. Oh, I was coming back from British Columbia, and they knew me at the airport, so can't go anywhere and be unseen.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think a movie like this coming out now is going to be good for the industry and get a lot of people interested in it?
I think this movie could be huge for the industry. The last movie, really helped grow the industry. And I think that was a big part of it. And if this movie does like that movie, it's going to be big for the industry. It'll introduce a lot of people to it that, really have thought about it, but always thought, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's been 33 years since River Runs Through It, and that movie was a trout movie, but it motivated people to get on fly fishing in saltwater, in freshwater, everything in between. I think that a movie like this, and I know there's Bob Rich is not going to make a movie that's not authentic to fly fishing.
Yeah.
I got a chance to meet him back at one of the very first Redbone events, which is a charity fishing tournament up in Montauk. And this would have been probably 2002. And he and Mindy were there. I think they were fishing with Tim Borski and Paul. And got to spend a good bit of time with him. And we were starting a tournament, part of the same Redbone series. And we were starting this tournament about the same time in 2002 in St. Simons. And we're here in Atlanta trying to organize everything, trying to get the guides signed up, trying to fill boats. And Bob Rich called and said, listen, one of Rich CPAC, which is one of the divisions of Rich Products, based in St. Simons. He's like, we'll be the title sponsor. We'll bring the money. We'll bring the volunteers. And he's the one who, really made that tournament successful. And so I was lucky enough to spend time with him. My father got to spend time with him, traveled over to the UK to fish with him. And it's someone who really understands deeply, the saltwater fly fishing thing. So I think with his oversight, I'm confident this movie will be really great. And one that I think will have a really great impact on the industry.